Yes, so now you can able to see my screen. So today I'm going to discuss more depth on EC2 and instances, and today also I'm going to discuss in depth on each and every step-by-step procedure, how to understand the complete implementations of Amazon EC2. And later I will be talk about as Amazon S3 also. And moreover, the same rules. So this end of the session, you will be getting time for asking the questions, and you can post your questions on the chat message, and you can able to. And will answer the questions. Okay. So before we start our session, I request you to please mute your audio. And in case of, as I told, it will be getting a lot of disturbance by having that. So please mute your audio, and let me start our session. So today agenda. So first of all, yesterday's session we have seen about AWS, how to manage CLI. So I hope you'll be understanding very well how to manage a CLI in Windows and Linux machines. I hope you also tried on that one. And also, yesterday we have seen about few things about AWS security, and also we have seen about how to, as I told, how to manage AWS instances. So that's really thing, because AWS is the one they have, because there are a lot of things, a lot of stuff is going on when you are working with instances. Okay, so today I'm going to take more closer to you on instances so that you can understand really well about the instances. So before going to start that one, okay, so I'll be connecting back just 1 minute, just 1 minute. Thank you so much for holding down. Let me start our session. So today I'm going to take you more closer working on instances. Actually, when we see, actually, as I told yesterday about the instances, so we have different types of instances in Amazon EC2. We have Linux instances, we have Windows instances, and it is our responsibility to understand the implementation, what's going on inside the instances. So that's the important things. So what are the things here? What are the steps you're going to take while you launch the instances? Like what is security groups, what is tags, and then also you have to understand about instance metadata, and also you need to understand about uh, the rest of things of instance, like how to manage instance properly in AWS. So that's the thing. So in order to working with instances, so first of all, in this AMI image, right, that yesterday explained about Amazon machine image. You can launch any type of images from the list, and you can able to access those resources. In case of I'm launching a Linux or Windows instance here, so let me launch Windows instance first. So as I told yesterday, when you're launching the instance type, you have different things to understand here, because it has different types of processors, storage, and as well as different types of network performance, and also different types of IPv6 support. See, selecting an instance type is really means that you are selecting the proper workload for the particular instance type. And what type of workload you're going to give on instance, that is based on past, present, and future. So because I can't say that surely that I'm going to use one processor and one GB of RAM for the particular instance, because I will be accessing more powerful instance in the future. So this is how this instance type. So as I already told yesterday, we have different instance types, and based on the instance types, like I'm looking for storage-based instances, I'm looking for memory-based instances, or looking for micro-based instances. So based on that, we are going to launch the instance types. And moreover, see, working with instances is not a single thing that we can understand, because today I'm going to explain a step-by-step things, like different about working with instances. And I'm going to teach you about choose AMI. And third, I'm going to teach you how to choose the proper instance type. And fourth, I will be telling you configure instance details. And fifth, I will be explaining about the storages in Amazon EC2. And sixth, I'm going to know about what is meant by tagged instances. And seventh, I will be explaining about how to configure security groups. And eighth, we are going to connect the instance. See, actually, these are things, and also we have different types of things. Like this is the one working on instances, and the next one, the stage number 2, I'm going to explain about clearly about launching instance using AWS in another way. So first we so suppose we are going to work with instances. So what are things we need to understand here? Because see, actually yesterday we have seen the basics of images and instances, along with various instance types, some interesting instance pricing strategy as well. And in this section, this is important to understand about how to work with instances. See, actually, when I go to these services, we go to EC2 dashboard, because you can see there are a lot of stuff is going on here, because you feel that how we look around this dashboard, and we have different types of things, like we have instances, we have, you can see images, we have network and security, and then we have load balancers, and we have auto scaling, all those things, because this dashboard provides real-time view of Amazon EC2 resource, which includes important details such as how many instances are currently running in your environment, how many volumes keypads, snapshots, elastic IP has been created, and so on. So this dashboard also displays the current health of overall regions. You want to see the health of overall regions? Click on this one. You can see it takes you this AWS service health dashboard, and it clearly show you that the current health of overall regions as well as the subsequent availability zones. See, in our case, we are operating in this region, United States, North Virginia region. So I can say that inside this region, we have 6 availability zones. These names and values will be different based on the preferred region of operations. And moreover, when I coming to this one here in this resource, you can see that we have launch instances. So when you click on those launch instances, when you're selecting launch instances, you will be directed to wizard driven page that will help you create and customize very first instances. So what is that wizard? That is called choose AMI. This is AMI. And because he can see when you go for launch instance option, because that divides the entire instance creation operation into 7 individual stages. And what are the 7 individual stages? This is the 7 individual stages. First, you have to choose AMI. Second, choose instance type. Then configure instance detail. Then add storages. Then add tag instances. Configure security groups. Then 8th one, connect to the instances. When coming back here, connect to AMI, I can say that because naturally our first instance had to spawn from AMI, and so that is the first. Here the AWS provides us with lot of options and choose from, which includes Git start guide, which list of most frequently used popular AMIs, and includes famous MS or Linux AMI, and everything you can see here in this screenshot. There are also some host of other operating systems provided here as well, as which includes I can say Ubuntu, and we have SUSE Linux, Red Hat, Windows servers. And just remember, each of these AMI has uniquely referenced AMI ID, right? Which looks something because all this operating system have, you can see, able to see this one. This is called AMI ID, and we can use this AMI ID to spin up instance using AWS CLI. And I can say there's something which will be performed. And they also contain additional information such as whether the root device of AMI based on EBS volumes or not, whether the particular AMI is eligible under free tiers or not, and so on. So that is why this AMI window will give us the complete information about that. And also the next one, we have to understand here that after you have selected, see, not all instances are running as a free here, because some instances are running free, some instances are not. And when you come down, you can see some instances are running integrated with SQL Server. And this means that when you're launching this operating system, Windows Server 2016, it is integrated with my MS SQL, and this is not a free version. So this MS SQL is also integrated with a Windows Server 2016, and you can able to launch it. So that's why. So only the single operating system that does not integrate with any applications, that comes under free tier eligible. If the operating system is integrated with any inbuilt applications along with that, that is not a free version. So this is how AWS has categorized in AMI, and they have given for free tier users and for paid tier users all those kinds of stuffs. And that's why. So if you select any operating system from here, the next thing you have to understand that when you select this one, it will ask you to select an instance type. See, selecting instance type is, as I told, is based on the cert area that what you have, based on what is systematic performance what you have. And then I can say that, see, when you select, so your AMI selected. So I'm going to select like Red Hat or maybe Windows Server 2016, something like this. Next step is to select particular instance type, that the type or size as far as the requirement is concerned. And we have something called filter by, right? And you can see filter by options to group, and you can see view instances according to their families and generations as well. And this is, as I told, in this case, see, you can go ahead with T2.micro. This is one of the most lowest type of instance type, which covers 1 processor, 1 GB RAM, and that's why this one. Ideally, you can say that after selecting a particular instance type, you can able to launch instance right away. But this will not allow you to perform any additional configuration for your instance. So next is you have to configure the instance details. When come to instance details, you can see this page will basically allows you to configure few important aspects about your instance, including network settings, monitoring, and lots more. When come to this option, what is mean by this? This is called number of instances. What is mean by this number of instances? Number of instances means you can specify how many instances that wizard should launch using the field. By default, the value is always set to one single instance. So, for example, suppose I want to launch 5 instances at a time, I can select 5. Okay. So after that, after launching the instance, you can see that you can with the same instance type you can launch n number of operating systems inside that. There's something called number of instances. And then second, we have a purchasing option. Purchasing option, I think, but as I told yesterday, we have different types of instance. Like we have spot instance, we have reserve instance, we have on-demand instance. When it comes to spot instances, I can say that remember spot instances as I talked yesterday. So we have to understand that spot instances basically is the best instance pricing compared to reserve instances, because when you click on here, you can see AWS asks you to here itself you can bid your price, and here itself you can able to purchase the infrastructure from that. So, but just remember this spot instance is not available for T2.micro type of instance, because that is absolutely because they don't have any capacity. That's why it is not possible to select that instance type, spot instance type for T2.micro in specific availability zone. The next section, we have a network. You can see there is a network. This is called default VPC. And what is default VPC? As I already stated you that when you're selecting default VPC is displayed in this one, and you can go ahead and create your own VPC. There's something called private cloud from your instance. But the real thing is, suppose in our case, the default VPC is supporting network of 172.31.0.0, and which means we can assign up to 65,536 IP address using it. That's what comes in default VPC. And moreover, when it comes to this one, subnet, you can see when you select a subnet, this is comes something around availability zone. Because when you select a subnet in which you wish to deploy your new instances, you can either choose to have AWS select and deploy your instances in a particular subnet from available list, or you can select particular choice of subnet on your own. By default, each subnet net mask defaults to 20. Okay, which means that you have 4,096 IP addresses assigned to it. When I click on this one, you can see 4,091 IP addresses assigned to it. I told 96 because the 5 address will be a reserved one. So each and every subnet have 4,091 IP address available on that one. Okay, when I go to no preferences, means AWS will select their preferred availability zone for us. Okay, right now it's 1D. Okay, let me go preferences. When come to this auto assign public IP, I can say because each instance that you launch will assign a public IP, and this public IP allows your instance to communicate with outside world and the internet. Okay, so that we need to understand. So if you disable this one, and that AWS will not give you any public IP for that instance, then if the particular instance wants to communicate outside of internet, outside world, so they have to communicate with elastic IP. I will be coming on this later about explaining about that elastic IP if I don't have a auto assign IP. So let me give disable. Now this is next is when come to this one, we have something called IAM role, right? So we have IAM, and what do you mean by this domain joint directory? Suppose if I have Active Directory inside my network, so I can able to connect Active Directory here itself, and I can able to launch the instance. And if I create any IAM role, so suppose because IAM role means you can additionally select particular IAM role to be associated with your instance. In this case, we don't have any roles particularly created, but if you have any created role that is an IAM, you can able to attach here itself and launch the instance. Then come to the shutdown behavior. I can say that this option allows you to select whether the instance should stop or terminate it when issue a shutdown command. In this case, you can see this is a default when stop. You can also issue the terminate option here. And when come to down, we have enable termination protection, because selecting this option in case you wish to protect your instance against accidental deletions, this will protect you. And next, let's come to monitoring. You can see here, by default, AWS is monitor few basic parameters about your instance for free. But if you wish to have in-depth insight into your instance performance, then you have to select AWS, that's enable cloud watch detail monitoring, and additional charges may be applied. This also I told yesterday. When I come to tenancy here, I can say that because AWS offers you to power on your instance on a single tenant, dedicated hardware in case your application compliances requirements are too strict. For such cases, we have to use dedicated, and because tenancy options, else leave it as a shared. Share means you can share with other AWS accounts. Dedicated means you can't do. And also note that, however, there is a slight increase in overall cost of instance if it is made to run a dedicated hardware. So this is the after you're finishing of your configuring instance details, you can go for add storages. Here you can see when I click add storage, you can see using this page, you can see you can add additional elastic block storages volumes on your instances. You can add new volumes. You can see you can add a new volumes, and this will provide you with options to provide a size of new volume along with mount points. In our case, suppose this is 8 GB, and the 8 GB volume already attached to instance, or 30 GB already attached to the instance. This is a T2.micro instance, right? So that's why this 8 GB is given for the eligible for free tier account. Now, because try to keep volume size under 30 GB, that is for eligible for free tier. And you can see that we have this option, delete on termination. See, you can optionally increase the size of volume, enable hands-on features such as delete on termination as per your requirement. Once done, then what is mean by this? Actually, when you're terminating the instance, that respective volumes that is integrated with that particular instance also get terminated. But if you unselect this option, the respective volume for that instance integrated with that instance, it will not get terminated. That is why this option is by default, it will be selected. Okay, so click on next tab, and it will see this is called tag instances, because as I told, because the tag instances page will allow you to specify tags for your EC2 instance. But tags are nothing more than normal like key value pairs of the text that allow you to manage your AWS resources and lot easily. You can see you can able to start, stop, terminate group of instances to any other AWS resources using tags. And each AWS resource can have up to maximum 10 tags assigned to it. For example, suppose we have, because for example, in our case, we have provided 5 instances, so we have to provide a tag, for instance, as suppose I'm typing as a web server. I'm typing as a web server, and suppose I have database server, app server. Based on that, I can able to tag the particular instances. And the important thing, keep in mind here that AWS will not assign a tag to any of your resource automatically. So these are optional attributes that you can assign to your resources in order to facilitate in easier management. When click on next, it will take you to security groups. What do you mean by these security groups actually? Because I can say that because security groups are essential tool that used to safeguard access to instance from the outside world. And these security groups are nothing but set off a firewall rules that allow specific traffic to reach your instance. By default, the security groups allow for, I can say we have 2 types of rules, inbound rule and outbound rule. And by default, the security groups allow all outbound traffic to pass while blocking all inbound traffic. So by default, AWS will create will have auto create a security group for you when you first start in Amazon EC2 services. This security group is called as the default security group. Where is the default? When you come to here, you can see this is a default security groups, and it contains only the single rule that allows all inbound traffic on port number 3389 or port number 22. So by default, it will be allowing all inbound traffic on port number 22. Just remember, each AWS instance that you're launching, it should be connected with any of the security groups. Without touching the security groups, no instances cannot be, can launch in AWS. And one instance can be member of one security group or more than one security groups. And just remember, you cannot delete the default security groups. So these all things, you can create a new security groups. And once you create a new security group, see here you can see you can add additional rules by your security groups on your requirement as well. For example, suppose in our instance case, we want the users to receive all inbound HTTP traffic as well. So I'm going to add all HTTP here. Yeah, HTTPS here. So let me, this will be the RDP, let add rule, and I'm going to add HTTPS and press on port number 443. So you can see with your security groups created and populated, where you can now go ahead and launch the instances. Okay, so I will be explaining on this one what is meant by custom, anywhere, and my IP later. And when you click on this is the review. Review means finally you can the last step towards launching your instance. Here you will be provided a complete summary of your instance configuration details, and including AMI details, instance type selected, and instance details. If all details are correct, you can simply click launch. Since this may be your first instance, you will be provided with additional pop-up page that will basically help you create a key pair. Click on that. Yeah, so this one, because a key pair is basically a combination of public and private key which is used to encrypt and decrypt your instance login information, because AWS generates a key pair for you which you need to download and save locally on your workstation. Just remember that once a particular key pair is created and associated with your instance, you will need to use the key pair itself to access the instance, and you will not able to download this key pair again. Hence, save it in secure location. That's the thing. And in EC2, okay, suppose you're launching Linux instances, have no login passwords by default. Hence, we use key pairs to log on by SSH or maybe RDP, port number 3389 for Windows. So that's why. So you have to download the key pair. So already I have downloaded the key pair. So that's why he's asking me, you want to use the same key pair? That's why given I acknowledge I have access to selected key pair of testing.pem. See, once you launch the instance, AWS will take a couple of minutes and he will give instance ID for all instance that you launch. Click on this. Here you can see. You can see here AWS has given all instance IDs. When you go here, when I click on that one, so 5 instances is started to launch. So let me give one. So the 5 instances I have launched in my AWS. So this is the steps that you need to follow when launching. You can see this dashboard contains lot of information about your instance. You can view your instance ID. You can see here instance type, the power state, and a whole lot of information from this dashboard. And you can obtain your instance health information and go to status check. And here you can see the health information about the instance. You can set alarm for that instance, and also additionally you can perform power operations or instance start, stop, reboot, everything we can able to do on particular instance. And this is how. So you can see when I click on this instance, I got a private IP because as I told, I have not selected AWS to give me a public IP. So that's why it is coming as a private IP. So in order to launch an instance, so obviously I need to have a public IP, and how to get the public IP if that instance has not AWS has not generated the automatic public IP. So for that, we need to go for the few things called elastic IP. And now let me explain what is elastic IP first. I hope you understand these steps. Actually, understanding elastic IP, because you people may have a good understanding of elastic IP, or you may be what you say, this elastic IP may be new to you. Okay, see, before going for elastic IP, we should understand about EC2 networking, right? Because EC2 networking how actually works. So it is essential to understand the difference between networks provided by private data centers and public cloud such as AWS. Because a traditional data center network generally, I can say that compromises number of physical switches and routers that are connected to physical hardware and are responsible for transmitting and forwarding data or packets from one place to another. The same things also apply in case of cloud computing. However, in place of hardware, now we have virtual devices such as virtual servers, virtual network cards, virtual switches, and virtual routers. However, the main difference between traditional data center and the cloud-based networks is that cloud-based network is heavily filtered. So most public cloud providers such as AWS itself, they allow only unicast packets over their networks, restricting all broadcast datagrams. Many people will say that AWS allow broadcast packets. That's absolutely wrong. AWS, they never provide, because they never allow broadcast datagrams. Perhaps they allow unicast datagrams over the network. You may ask me question why? Because most of the security purposes and to avoid DDoS attacks, besides other reasons as well behind that. This is important point to I can say remember. However, as often your application may require broadcast capabilities over a network to discover some service, such cases, this application may not necessarily fit on the public cloud. There are ways to get past this limitation, but however, that that is something that's a different topic. Okay, let's look at how our EC2 instances are provided with their networks and IP addresses. See, to begin with, each instances that we have launched here in our EC2 environment is provided with two unique IP addresses called private IP and public IP. Where is the private IP here? Suppose where is public IP? Because I have not asked AWS to provide me a public IP, right? Let me ask a public IP for it. So in order to ask public IP, I'm going for elastic IP, and you can see that elastic IP already I have AWS has given me. Let me release it and ask it first. Okay, now I don't have any IP. Click allocate new addresses and click allocate, and now it is allocated. Click close, and you can see now go to associate address. Okay, you want to associate that elastic IP. Actually, what is mean by elastic IP? Before coming to this topic, we need to understand depth of about what is mean by IP, right? IP is the one which is used to communicate different types of networks. We know that we have IPv4, we have IPv6, and we have, because IP address can go anywhere, they can communicate any part of the global, they can communicate any part of the network, they can communicate any part of the cloud. IP address we have in privately, IP address we have in internet, IP address we have in cloud. So everywhere is IP address. So computer network is based on IP addresses. And two major protocols we are learning, TCP and UDP. So like this is the fundamental will go like this. So just remember, when I come to these instances, let I come back and show you a few more things on these instances, the running instances. I can say that because, as I told, each instances, okay, that we launch in EC, that they provide two set of IP. One is private IP, one is public IP. So this is the default behavior of an instance. It is not under our control by default unless you are working with a VPC. And see, when we suppose when you launch an instance, as shown in here, AWS will provide with unique private IP, right? With that unique private IP using its own internal DHCP services. We have AWS itself have internal DHCP service. They provide the private IP. So you can use this private IP to communicate with internet, to communicate with instance present in same network, right? You can see all those instances have private IP start from 172.31 and come to EC2, 172.31 and come to EC3 and start from 170.31. So this means they all running inside the same network. But however, being a private IP address, you cannot use this network for any communication with outside, something called internet. They cannot access the internet along with the private IP addresses. So That's why AWS will give the internal DNS host name for your instances. There's something called private DNS, and it's something look like this. You can see it is called private DNS, and you can see it tells us lots about our instance as well. In this example, I have a private DNS. I have an IP called 172.24.207, and I can say that it is deployed in specific region. Okay, and it is something look like this is called private IP. So this means each and every instance that you're launching in AWS, they have two set of IP. One is private IP and next one is a public IP. And they have private DNS and they have public DNS. So just remember this same policy, the same concept is also applied to public IP address. Now what is public IP addresses actually? Since I don't have public IP address, let me launch one instance with public IP. Okay, so you can see this I'm given enable. Yeah, so let me add as tags. Now I have launched instance with the public IP. So go to instances. Here you can see it is. Let's try to launch here. So upon launching only they will receive a public IP. Okay. Upon initialization point of view, they will never receive a public IP. Let him launch it. So upon launching, yeah, you can see that he got the one public IP. So what is meant by this public IP? This public IP is something that is reachable from internet and can use to communicate with outside world. So AWS maps public IP address of an instance to its corresponding private IP address by using something called NAT, that's something called Network Address Translator. Network Address Translator is done by Internet Gateway of the default VPC. And that's why this NAT process happens automatically. So this each instance which have the public IP, they can able to communicate with internet. So they can able to launch globally. So this is how the public IP. So each and every, so you may ask me a question, oh, this instance has got public IP. What about this instance? This instance has not got public IP. So this instance has got only the private IP. Now how to assign this instance as a public IP? This is a very simple thing to understand. Before going to that counterpart, let I explain you again this one. See here, because now you can see the AWS provided me the public DNS and they provide me the private DNS. So the public DNS looks something like this, right? So you can see this is the endpoint is something like, you can see this also provides us with similar information about instances public IP as well as where the instances has been launched from. So keeping this information is meant, there are also a few additional pieces of information that you need to know about your instance networking. See, you can control your instance IP address to a big extent depending on whether they launch from standard EC2 environment or in a VPC. I can say that AWS, we have two types of consoles in AWS called EC2 Classic and EC2 VPC. So before 2013 there, AWS, they have released something called EC2 Classic. After 2013, AWS released something called EC2 VPC. So right now I am in EC2 VPC. How to confirm that? You see that I am in EC2 VPC, because here you can see you can have secondary private IP addresses that you can connect with your EC2 VPC. So it is possible to have more than one private IP address for that particular instance. And just remember, in EC2 Classic, okay, you don't really, because you really don't have much control over our instance networking, because each instance is provided with single unique private as well as public address and DNS respectively. And these values are released to the general public IP pool when your instance is either stopped or terminated. And in EC2 Classic, you cannot reuse those IP addresses and DNS value once they released or to the general pool. No, and just as I told, after 2013, on the other hand, a VPC called Virtual Private Cloud provide much control and flexibility when it comes to our instance IP addresses. Using a VPC, you can define and run instances from specially created subnets, which can be either isolated private subnets or connected to the internet or public subnet, depending on your requirement. You can additionally provide your instances as more than one private and public IP as well using a VPC. That is why this is something this is how difference between EC2 Classic and EC2 VPC. And I can say the instances in a VPC, however, they do not release their private IP address back to general pool when the instance is stopped. So now, see, this means, suppose I'm stopping the instance, right? Suppose I'm stopping this instance. Do you think my private IP will be go away from that instance? Absolutely not. My public IP will go away from my instances, not my private IP addresses. This is how the AWS this we call EC2 VPC. This is something different from EC2 Classic. Now I have stopped this instance. This means my public IP is gonna be removed, and my private IP will be stick always with this instance. You can see here, it is not completely stopped. When completely stopped, you can able to see that this public IP will be removed. So again, when you're starting back that instance, so do you think the AWS will give same public IP like the 54.175? 227.216? Absolutely no. He will give another public IP. That's something different from that. So this is how AWS. This is a general thing that about what we have about the public IP and the private IP things. Now that's why people ask AWS that they want a public and static IP. You can see. Now you can see there is a private IP. There is no public IP. Now suppose I am launching the instance back inside the specific availability zone. Now you can see that AWS will give another public IP to that particular instance. This tells that each other instance that you stop in, the public IP will be removed. And next time you're starting the instance, another public IP will be released from the pool. That is why the public IP, but the private IP always remains same until this OS crash. Now the thing is, see, when you're selecting any particular running instance from EC2 dashboard, you can view the instance private DNS, and you can see the public DNS. You can see now AWS has given another public IP for this instance. So this is how. That's why since because I have launched instances or deployed in a VPC, and as you can see. What's the proof that I have launched instance by VPC? Here something called secondary IP addresses. Here we have something called a secondary IP address. This shows us that I have logged and launched with Amazon, like I say, VPC. That is, I am not long as EC2 Classic. So that's the difference between EC2 Classic and EC2 VPC. And moreover, when I talk about more on elastic IP is something that is shareable static public IP for us, and that elastic IP will not be removed if I am stopping the instance or terminating the instance. How to see? We have to. So this means that we have two sets of IP addresses in AWS. One is non-elastic IP address, and one is as I written already there. We have elastic IP address. So an elastic IP address and non-elastic IP addresses. So these two things are important to understand when launching an instance inside it. So anyhow that instance need a public IP. That's absolutely true. So to communicate within. If a particular instance wants to communicate within AWS, so what they need? They need the private IP. And if the instance, okay, if the particular instance wants to communicate outside of AWS, they need a public IP. So that's the difference between these two. So for private IP and public IP. So between private IP and between public IP, we have something called NAT gateway, and he will do the address conversion between my private IP and my public IP. So because as entry point of view, you people should be clear about what is meant by private IP and what is meant by public IP. So let me come under about elastic IP here. So as I already told, suppose you can see this instance has got a public IP that is non-shareable, and I can say is this public IP will be removed when I am stopping the instance. So when I'm stopping the instance, this public IP this is going to be get removed. So when I'm starting the instance, another public IP will be given to change this one. So I need to have, when I go to this instance, obviously I don't have any public IP. So what I have to do, I have to ask that particular to say public IP for that instance. There's something called elastic IP. This elastic IP is nothing but is a shareable, and it's a static public IP that what we have in AWS. And you can see AWS will charge you extra expense for asking elastic IP. So how to do that? See, elastic IP. So you can ask any number of elastic IP from AWS. You can see I'm asking all. By default, for each AWS accounts that you have here, so they can ask 20 elastic IP maximum. If they want more elastic IP, means they have to communicate with AWS customer care support to get more elastic IP from them. So you can see you can ask any number of elastic IP. AWS will keep on give you, and these are elastic IPs or public IP. This is a static shareable public IP, and this public IP this elastic IP will not be removed from the instance after instance terminate or instance stops until we disassociate that address from the instance. Okay, let I associate this elastic IP with the particular instance which is running here. Okay, in case of this one, EC221, so you can see I'm going to attach elastic IP for that particular instance. Here, you can go for this one and go to associate address. When you click on associate address, AWS will give you there is two methods to attach the particular elastic IP with the particular instance by selecting the name of the instance or by selecting the network interface. Just select the name of the instance. You can see it's asking me that for which instances you need to associate that particular elastic IP. So let me select EC21. Okay, and after that he wants to select. He's asking you to switch private IPs that running, and click this reassociation. Nothing but this will be reassociated after it is attached. And click associate. Here it is associated. Now you go here instances. Now you select this one. You can see I got my elastic IP, and this is the static public IP. So what's the difference between this elastic IP and non-static elastic public IP? The difference is nothing but when I go here, click on this one and stop this one. Okay, when you're stopping the particular instance from here, as I told, the elastic IP will not be get removed, right? Elastic IP will remain sticked until the instances may be terminated or stopped. So you can see now this is my instance is stopping, and my elastic IP will remain same forever. But in case of this instance, as I told, this instance, when I stop this instance, I got removed the public IP, and private IP is still associated with that. When in case of this instance, I have stopped. You can see that instance is still stopping. Once it stopped, you can see this in these settings are intact. So that's the important things to understand about elastic IP. And moreover, okay, what's the difference between static public IP and non-static public IP? So I can say that both are given for the particular instance to launch, say instance outside of AWS. So that's why. So because that's the thing. But elastic IP is a special IP that you can ask AWS to provide the specific IP, and you can attach with the particular instance. Okay. So like this, I have to say associated. I have started, many elastic IPs are free here. So that I'm going to attach with any other. Go to associate address and then go to EC24 and select it and now reassociation. Then click associate. Okay, it is associated. So like this, each and anytime if you don't want that elastic IP, you think that elastic IP you don't want, so you can just disassociate address. When you click on disassociate address, it will be disassociated from that, and then release the address, and see it is released. And this is how you use the elastic IP, make use of elastic IP in the network. You can see this is stopped. Now when I click on this one, you can see the elastic IP still there, and it is not removed from the instance. This is a major difference between elastic IP and non-elastic shareable public IP. So that's the thing, because it is important to understand the major difference between elastic IP and non-elastic IP. And moreover, in which situation? Okay, next question is, in what condition we have to use this elastic IP? Right, because many guys has getting lot of doubts that in which situation I need to have elastic IP, which situation I need to go for my that is called non-static public IP. So like this, the basic things is, see, elastic IP is the one which is useful in different scenario. I can say that different scenario means because there are many interview, they'll be asking that about elastic IP and public IP. What's the difference between that? I can say that because elastic IP, so here itself we have seen a few differences, right? Using elastic IP and here, what's the difference? First of all, I can see that elastic IP is essentially tied in your AWS accounts, right? And just remember, it is tied with your AWS accounts in that particular availability zone. And you can freely associate it with any instances. And the public IP you get from instance is created. And that's something ephemeral, right? This public IP is something called ephemeral. When you're stopping the instance, right? When you're stopping the instance, when you start is, then you will get another random public IP, as I told already here. But elastic IP is not there. In case of elastic IP, it will be remain same one you got before, but that will be just be coincidence, maybe sometime, because elastic IP is a permanent IP in sense that you own it and you associate with specific AWS instance ID. That's why elastic IP is a permanent static public IP. That's the important thing. And next thing about elastic IP, I can say that see, we can have multiple elastic IP for single instance. Many people, because suppose I have two adapters. Okay, so let me go here. Let me add one more elastic network interface here. Okay, so I have two elastic network interface available inside my AWS console. Click on that one. Let me connect. Let me attach with that elastic IP with my EC21. Okay, now go to network interfaces and go to here and go to attach. So let me give EC21. Okay, it is stopped and click attach. Now it is attached. See, it is in use. Now go to instances and go to EC21 and this is stopped. Let me start. Okay? Let me start. Here you can see I got two private IP address because two network interface, elastic network interface is attached. And just remember, when you launch an EC2 instance, okay, you receive a public IP by which that instance is reachable. So once you stop the instance or restart, you'll get the new public IP for same instance, as I told already. So public IP gets changed every time for an instance after start and stop. To overcome this problem, right? So always public IP is changed, so that's a big headache for me. To overcome this problem, that's why AWS has given elastic IP. And we can attach an elastic IP to instance which does not change after you stop or start the instance as many times. Now, what's the main advantage of having that? Because I can say elastic IP is a kind of static IP for your instance and does not change after start and stop. And just remember, if you have elastic IP for your particular AWS accounts and it's not in use, then you will be charged for it. So it is better if you suppose I'm not using this elastic IP, just it is better to release them and it will reduce your expense. Just remember, many people think wrong that elastic IP will be stick with particular instance. No, elastic IP stick with your AWS accounts. Okay, so AWS will put the charge for that particular elastic IP that you have launched, that you ask inside AWS by having name of your account. That is not something done something by number of instances that you have launched. So keep elastic IP low. That's the good. And elastic IP, as I told, if instance starts, reboots every time, that will be gives us a more flexible and more control compared to non-elastic IP. So this is how and another advantage of elastic IP, I can say that because is that you can move IP address from one host to another. This will help you to build more resilient systems. So right now you can see I have in this system I have attached two adapters. Now it is possible for you to have two elastic IP for that instance. How it is possible? Go to elastic IP there, and you can see. It is attached with my, I think, this one, and go to, okay, now you just ask another address, and go to associate address, or go to allocate new address, and click allocated, and AWS allocated for you. And click on that one, and go to associate address. Here, as I told that, AWS will give you two options to attach the particular elastic IP with the specific instance, whether name of the instance or name of the network adapter. And here you can see the select a network adapter, and you can attach another elastic IP for that particular instance. So this is how, and this is not possible. Suppose, see, I have two elastic IP, that is two elastic network interface of particular instance. Suppose I'm selecting this one, and AWS asks you which adapter you need to have. So this one, and click elastic, you can see that I will receive an error because telling name cannot be used to attach multiple elastic IP for that instance holding multiple elastic network interfaces. You can see there are multiple interfaces attached to the instance, and they cannot able to do that. Now, how to resolve this problem? Go back and have a network interface, and then select network interface. So I need to exactly see which network interface is that. Okay, so now select it and associate. It will be successfully associated. So this is how you can work with more than one elastic IP inside the specific AWS instance management console. So that's why, because it is important to understand these things, because this is the static public IP or elastic IP. Because since as we have private operating system, as we are working private data center, this is my private machine, right? Which is connected with my internet connection. And when I go here, go to CMD, and if I type ipconfig, you can see this is my private IP that's running inside my office premises. I want to check my public IP, so when I go here, and I will be typing google.com, and I will be typing show my IP address. So when I type this one, you can see my public IP. Do you think this is elastic IP or this is a non-elastic public IP? I can say this going to be changed. Tomorrow when I'm coming back and type the same statement, show my IP address, this is my IP address will be something different. My public IP will be something different. But my private IP is always remain the same. So this is how, that's why if you want to make this as a permanent public IP, in AWS has given options of elastic IP that we have. So this setup is not possible with your ISP settings, right? Only the cloud vendor will provide you about elastic IP. And normal internet service provider vendors, that does not have any elastic IP facilities. So the public IP keep on change based on the priority, based on the weight, and based on the free usage of addresses. This is not something happens in your physical data centers. This is something happens only when you are in cloud. It's something called AWS cloud. So that is why elastic IP is important and for us. I hope you understand this. So next we're going to understand So I think you clearly understand about how to work with all those instances and what is use of the elastic IP. Now the important thing understand that about more about these things about EBS storages. When we talk about EBS is something called elastic block storages, because you people have many things to understand about elastic block storages. Because elastic block storages is something maybe new to you, because AWS supports different types of EBS storage. They have, because AWS is a global vendor, okay, for centralized machines. I can say that AWS have different types of storage: S3 storage, instance-based storage, EBS-based storage, and it have ephemeral storage. Also, a lot of things is going on based on the storages. So let me concentrate on this one about what is mean by EBS storages, and that may be pretty new to you, and I will be explaining you completely about how EBS storages is actually works, and how many types of EBS storages we have in AWS. Welcome to Amazon EC2. Okay, I can say that elastic block storages, when I go to volumes, here you can see, because since I'm explaining everything about traditional storage, okay, I'm not explaining about object storage like Amazon S3 or long-term storage like Amazon Glacier or something like. I'm just explaining about traditional storage called EBS. What is meant by traditional storage? What are the storages we have inside here? What are the storages we have in our private data center? Maybe you have laptop, maybe you have desktop, maybe you have your mobile phones, smartphones, anything. They have these types of storage like memory cards, SSD. They have this traditional storage. All traditional storage have user space and free space. All traditional storage, they have file system associated with them. All traditional storage have set of guessing capacity. But these all things we don't have in storage, something called Amazon EBS, or something called, sorry, these types of guessing capacity storage is called Amazon EBS. And moreover, a non-guessing capacity, something called Amazon S3 storages. And Amazon S3 is a non-guessing capacity, unlimited number of storages we have. I will be explaining that Amazon S3 short while. So let me finish Amazon EBS. See, Amazon EBS is a storage that is specifically designed for instances, and moreover, and I can say that it's a highly reliable storage. That's 100% true, because Amazon elastic block storages is the one that they provide block level storages for use with Amazon EC2 instances. So when I go to volumes here, you can see I can go to create a volume. You can see I have different types of storages in this list. There are general purpose SSD and provisioning IOPS SSD, cold SSD, throughput, optimized SSD, or magnetic. So what is meant by these volumes? Because as I told, these types of storages is called block level storage volumes for use with EC2 instances, and EBS volumes are highly available. These are the volumes. And I can say that, and reliable storage volumes that can be attached to any running instance that is running in same availability zone. Just remember that is running in same availability zone. Let me show an example here. Suppose I am launching this instance like EC5. Okay, I think he got any elastic IP. Yeah, he got the elastic IP. Let me connect it. And let me get the password. Decrypt the password and let me paste it. So once I launch the particular instance that is running in specific availability zone, Okay, so as I told, Amazon EBS storages, they they have some rules and regulations to follow, because they will be connecting in same region, same availability zone. If I have created a storage that is in another availability zone, you cannot use that storage attaching in this region, sorry, in this availability zone. Let us show here. Here, when I go to my disk management, this is a 30 GB storage, right? So let me have one more storage here. So we'll go for EC221. Let me have keep this instance ID. Okay, now go to volumes and paste that instance ID there. And here you can see the 30 GB storage is there. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new volume, something called 500 GB. And just remember, I need to check which availability zone that is. So now all US East 1C, right? So let me create a 500 GB of storage in US East 1A, right? Let's create it. Okay, just refresh it. You can see that volume is created here. You can see it is available. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to attach this one in that EC2 operating system, attach volume. Do you think showing, see, no matching running or stop instance were found in that specific availability zone US East 1A, because all the instances which are running is in this availability zone US East 1A. So they are not, so at 1C, sorry, not 1A, 1C, but no instances were running on that availability zone called US East 1A. That's why this volume is refusing to attach there. Okay, suppose what I have to do now, either I need to launch operating system, either I need to launch EC2 instance with that particular region inside the particular availability zone, otherwise this is waste of resource. Now let me create another volume. Now you can see it is available. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to attach. I'm going to attach. Now you can see here, again, when I click on this, yeah. So this is also US East 1A. So this is also not going to attach. So let me create one more volume in US East 1C. Now create it. So now I can see 3 volumes are available. Yeah. So 3 volumes. Now it is running in US East 1C. Now when I click attach a volume, you can see it is recognizing all the instances which is running in US East 1C. So you can select any of those. You can see it is, so I'm running EC21 and you can attach it. Now it is attached. When I go to instances, here you can see that is attached. When I go to this, you can see it is attached because it is running inside same availability zone. Now click online and select initialize disk and BRGPT and create a partition with simple volumes, and now the partition is free. And now you can see you have 2 separate partitions available for you to make use of that. This is how Amazon EBS storage, that is, it comes under victims of regions and availability zone, and this means which availability zone instance is running, the same availability zone the EBS volume should also run. If the EBS volume is run in some other availability zone and your instance is running in some other availability zone, you cannot able to attach both each other. So that's the thing what we have in EBS. So let I take you more closer on EBS volumes. See, I hope you understand that when it comes to EBS volumes, you have 5 types of storage types in EBS. And basically, Amazon Web Services, initially they have not designed throughput optimized HDD or cold HDD before 2013 year. After 2013, they have added another 2 storages called throughput optimized HDD and cold HDD. So before that, we have 3 types of storage: general purpose SSD, provisioning AOPS SSD, and magnetic. So when come to general purpose SSD, I can say this is name itself tell that this types of storages supports capacity 1 GB to 16 terabyte. And just remember, AWS is the only cloud vendor who used to give huge amount of storage capacity for instances. When come to other cloud vendor, you can go for software IBM, go for Windows Azure, Google Cloud. They provide less storage for instances compared to AWS. They used to give 10 GB or 500 GB of storages, but AWS is the only cloud vendor who provide huge amount of storages for instances via Amazon EBS. And you can see that general purpose storages, you can see the size comes from 1 GB to 16 terabyte of storages. And this is you can see some use cases of general purpose. We can use it for big data purposes. We can use for databases purposes. We can use for thin provisioning purposes. So general purpose is the best use case for almost every application that is runs in the cloud. When come to provisioning IOPS, this is one of the best storages that we have ever in Amazon EBS, because provisioning IOPS storages, they support the capacity from 4 GB to 16 terabyte. You can see there 4 GB to 16 terabytes. And I can say that provisioning IOPS will allows you to give IOPS IOPS is the one that is input output operation per second, and this is one of the most fastest disks we have. And you can put great numbers of workloads inside provisioning IOPS. And provisioning IOPS is a storage that is specifically designed for Hadoop, for running big data analytics, and for big multimedia screenings. So these types of provisioning IOPS is expensive storage compared to general purpose and magnetic. And I can say that provisioning IOPS is one of the most fastest storage we have inside AWS. And we come to this one, magnetic. So when come to magnetic storage, as you can see that this is absolutely one of the lowest storage we have. This supports the capacity 1 GB to 1 terabyte. You can see maximum 1 GB to 1 terabyte. And I can say the throughput speed of this storage is also less. And this is best for, I can say, just like general purpose. You can have a small amount of workloads you can put on the storage. Like general purpose is best for operating system booting. It is best for that. The same as magnetic storage is good for I can say non-mission critical workloads, and that's will be the good for it. And after 2013, AWS also added one more thing, something called this one called cold HDD and throughput optimized HDD. Actually, I can say that because Amazon EBS is recommended when data must be quickly accessible and require long-term persistence. So EBS volumes are particularly well suited. I can say these all EBS volumes. And as I told, this is well suited for primary storage for file system databases for any application that require fine granular updates and access to raw unformatted lock level storage, and also for high intensity applications. So after 2013, AWS has released another two storage called cold HDD and throughput optimized HDD. And the name itself tells. And throughput optimized HDD comes from 500 GB to 16 terabyte of storages. And this is also best storage for like big data. And I can say throughput optimized is the data transfer speed is somewhat better compared to general purpose as well as for magnetic. But I can say, but it does not support any IOPS performance, like provisioning IOPS SSD storages will give. When it comes to cold HDD, because the performance speed will be less than 25, I can say that this less than 12 MB per terabyte, and go to also 500 GB 16 terabyte. And this used to store cold type of information that is infrequent of access of information inside the particular AWS network. So these are the storages what we have in Amazon Web Services called EBS. And as I already told, this anyhow, once you attach your storage, you need to do partition, you need to select a file system, and they need to format it. Then only it will come for usage. You have to say it will come for its existence of usages. So these types of storages this is same as we have on-premises data center storage. There is nothing new to here. So how in on-premises data center, what are things you're going to buy a hard disk, you're going to format the party, you're going to create a partition, and you are going to format the partition. And while formatting, you're going to select the file system. While selecting file system, you're going to format. So this is the same procedure also we are applying in the concept of VBS. But among them, which storage is best? So as I told, among them, provisioning IOPS storage is best, and that storage is, I can say that it's most expensive type of storage compared to general purpose, cold SSD, throughput optimized SSD, and magnetic. So this is different types of EBS storages what we have in AWS, and this storage is specifically designed for the instance. And these storages have guessing capacity, limitations of capacity inside them. You cannot match this to this type of storage with Amazon S3. Okay, Amazon S3 is a global storage provider for other AWS management component, and AWS itself provide a durable target storage for Amazon EC2 instances. That's something called instance-based storages. So instance-based storages and EBS-based storages, these all storages what we have, they designed for centralized management process of the storages inside AWS. When come to this one question has an interview that while you're creating EBS volumes, okay, you can able to do encrypt the volume. I can say yes, absolutely. You can do encryption of the volumes we have. So how to do that? When you create a volume, here you can see we have encryption. See, AWS network, AWS cloud platform, they support world class of encryption supports like KMS, key management services, cloud HSM, multi-factor authentication. They support heuristic authentication, and they support fine-granted access control. They support cross-granted access control. So AWS by default they select KMS, it's called key management services, as a native encryption for the storages that what we have. And it is possible to encrypt your storage while you take snapshots and forwarding from one region to next region. And that is why AWS has given KMS support as a default encryption option for all the EBS volumes. And I can say that all the volume support encryption, and you can see, yes, I can see, yes, I can see magnetic disk, yes. But all the volumes that we have, it supports KMS encryption, that is key management, that protect you from the data that you should not go for any other user hands. So this is how EBS volumes are created, EBS volumes we have. So based on the EBS volume storage structure, EBS volume storage things, we are forwarding, we are just attaching the storage inside a particular instance, and we are making use of that. So this is how, because this is how Amazon EC2 is really effective, comes under storages. And also can see these types of storages. Okay, here itself, one guy asked that you can able to format the storages here. No. Here AWS Management Console, I will create the storage, I will allocate the storage, I will deallocate the storage. But inside, after launching the instance, I will configure and initialize the storage here. I will create partition and I will make use of that one. So this is the difference. So after launching the operating system, before launching the particular operating system for this particular instances. So this is how AWS EBS volumes is all about. And that's right. So today we have discussed about two types of things: elastic IP, and here we have discussed about working on the instances, and then private IP and public IP, and EBS storages. So we have, as I told, we have 5 types of storages. What we have. See. Actually, welcome to this Amazon S3. Okay, so Amazon S3 is a big durable target storage. Okay, and Amazon S3 is an object storage. And what do you mean by the object storage? So because I will be coming back on this one, because I will be coming back on this Amazon S3 in another session, because Amazon S3. Let I give one introduction for Amazon S3 before we move into our next segment. Actually, I hope you understand about EBS, because there's a lot things to talk about EBS, that how to make use of proper EBS volumes, and how to set IOPS based on the storage capacity, and how this process works called KMS. As I told, encryption, that is key management services. And this process is important for you to understand. So as the time consume, so we will be discussing about EBS, so all those kinds of stuff. Welcome to this services, Amazon S3. Okay, this is Amazon S3. This is a object storage. And do you think Amazon S3 one of the most impressive storage what we have in AWS? And I can challenge you that you have not seen these types of reliable, scalable storage anywhere in any other cloud vendor. There is no competition for Amazon S3 when come to object storage, because what is meant by that object storage? Object storage is nothing but they don't have any guessing capacity as we have seen in EBS. They don't have. You can see this Amazon S3 works based on concept of the buckets, right? Amazon S3 will work based on the buckets, and you can put on the unlimited of data inside the buckets, and maybe 5 TB, maybe 40 TB, maybe 100 TB, maybe 500 TB of storages he can hold, because we don't have any guessing capacity here. So as I told already that Amazon S3 is a durable target storage for all other cloud applications like here, all cloud components like AWS, like we have Amazon CloudWatch, Amazon EMR, analytic tools and the databases, RDS, DynamoDB, Elastic Cache, Amazon Redshift. So all those all those management components will communicate Amazon S3 as a durable target. That's why AWS given Amazon S3 as a regionless. Okay, so that's why AWS given Amazon S3 is regionless. So it is regionless because they have some, what to say, great reason behind that. And that great reason is Amazon S3 is regionless because he provides integration storage for all other services, other AWS services we have here. And personally, we can use Amazon S3 as a durable target storage and as well as personal storage. So everything we have a concept of a bucket. We're going to create the bucket, we're going to attach the bucket, we are going to do versioning, and we are going to do cross-region replication, we can do static website hosting, and we can able to do transfer accelerate, event notification, logging, and rest of the things we can do. And you can have different types of encryption algorithms to protect the bucket. We have bucket policy, access control lists, and then we have cross-granted access control lists, and then we have lifecycle configuration policy for the particular bucket. So all those kinds of stuff is going on here when we understand Amazon S3. And moreover, understanding Amazon S3, so suppose I'm creating a bucket, right? So let me create a bucket and just create it. So I have created a bucket here, and just remember this bucket does not have any casing capacity. So that's the power for this particular bucket that you created, right? So see, have you seen any capacity like this? Suppose I'm in private. You see there is a capacity in file system, but this bucket does not have any file system. This bucket does not have user space, free space, and this bucket does not have I can say because the disadvantages of Amazon S3 bucket is you cannot install operating system inside them, or you cannot run databases, or you cannot run applications. That's a disadvantage we have in this bucket. But apart from that, storage, durable target storage, providing the metadata and giving the encryptions, and Amazon S3 will communicate with Amazon Glacier for long-term data storages. That's why Amazon S3 is closely integrated with Amazon Glacier in order to communicate for long-term storages. So that is something comes under object lifecycle management. So those things, suppose I'm created a bucket and I'm going to upload a file. You can see just like we have Google Drive. And by Google Drive, I can say we have some limitations, right? We have 15 GB for each mail storages, but here we have unlimited number of storages. So here I can go for some testing. I have opened and uploaded. So I have uploaded some files inside the bucket. And once you upload files inside the bucket, and this is something called metadata, okay? So here you can see we have the last modified size and storage classes. When I click on this one, you can see this is called system metadata, and this portion that you're looking right now, it is called something called user metadata. We have custom metadata, system metadata, user metadata, and just remember, you cannot create what is say bucket inside another bucket. Okay, you cannot create. So see, I have already in this bucket. I cannot create another bucket inside. And just remember, this bucket does you cannot mount it. And just remember, per AWS accounts, you can create 100 buckets by default, and that's the limitation for per AWS accounts AWS has created. But inside that particular bucket, you can store unlimited number of data inside the specific bucket. Maybe that may be the databases, but you cannot install and run the application inside the bucket. Apart from that, you can do anything, because initially, in order to install operating system, in order to run application, in order to install databases, you need to have a help of file system. So that's something done by traditional storages. Traditional storage means you can run databases, you can install operating system, you can go for installing applications and all those things. But here we cannot do those things. That's, as I told, that's a disadvantage of the buckets. So per AWS account can have 100 buckets created by default for them. So I will be coming back on more on Amazon S3. So while we are connecting day number 4 of a Zeedup Aws Marathon. So right now, I hope you understand what are the things we have discussed today, and it's time for me to move to question answer session, and let I start answering your questions. Okay, so let me start from that. First question is, does Elastic IP remain same when Amazon EC2? Yes. Yes, the answer is yes, because Elastic IP will remain forever, and because see, termination and also stopping, because terminated means you are going to stop. So after stopped, the Elastic IP will remain same. Let me show one example here. When I go to Amazon EC2, okay, so it got Elastic IP. Let me terminate it. Okay, so now I have terminated. Okay, so you have asked after termination, what will be the answer for this to happen. So let me check here. Okay, let me move to the next question. Let him stop. Last question: does Elastic IP remain when EC2 instance got terminated? So just I'm checking here. Next question is: can EBS shared from one region to another region? Yes, EBS can be shared from one region to next region. An instance and EBS should be same location. Yes, instance and EBS should be same location, as I told. If you move instance to another location, EBS also move. See, if another location means what? You're talking about different regions or different availability zone. If you are moving different region availability zone, obviously it will also move. Okay, let me check here whether the instance is stopped or not. Yes, it is shutting down. Okay, let me go to next question. It is possible to attach single EBS to multiple EC2? No, it's not possible, because single EBS should be attached in single instance, same zone. Okay, so it's possible to create replication between two different EC2. Yes, it is possible via communicating with private IP addresses. So that given answer yesterday itself. Okay, so you can see after terminating the instance, you cannot have the Elastic IP remain forever. So when you go to Elastic IP, so it is I think instance stop, but still it is associated. So I need to disassociate this address because there is no instance ID, and this also you can see this does not exist. So I need to release that address. So in order to release the address, I need to dissociate the address from that. So now that does not exist. So this means that once you stop the instance or terminate the instance, that Elastic IP will go forever. The next question is, Does elastic IP remain same? Yes. Okay. Mm, yeah, elastic IP remains same, but it will remove. What's the difference between EBS and S3? Because EBS is comes under traditional storages, and MS on S3 comes under object storages. It has some limitations of capacity, but S3 does not have. So I will be coming on more on MS on S3 when we connect back tomorrow. Elastic IP means remain same. Yes, it will remain same until you terminate the instance. EBS EBS limited storage, yeah, because S3 is unlimited and EBS limited, yeah, fine. Next question is EBS means block storage, yes, S3 is object storage, yes, fine. So next question is, can EBS share from one region to another region? You can share, but you need to take snapshots and send. Both have to be same region instance, yes, both has to be same region, otherwise they will not attach. Now comes S3 is object storage in instance. So does S3 is a part of EBS? No, EBS is a part of S3, but S3 is not part of EBS. At instance level, yes. So next is both are different. Yes, because MS on S3 is because when you're launching the instance here, you are going to here you can see when you're launching the instance, we have something called instance-based storages. Then come to here, we have something called instance-based. This instance-based storage specifically designed for EBS, and this instance-based storage is which storage target storage will give those instance-based storage for us is Amazon S3. So that's the thing. So we have a difference between that and this. If there is way to search for a particular object in Amazon S3 bucket, see, object nothing but what are the things you're putting inside the bucket. That is referred as a object, not more than that. So don't break your head on object. What are things you're putting inside the bucket? That is referred as an object. The question is using Amazon Linux AMD to micro instance type and configure IAM role for EC2 read-only access for each initially. So after that, I create another user and give administrator access. Possible to connect RDP and SSH. Actually, you have given only read-only access for user initially, and after that you created another user, gave administrator permission. Those you have, they can able to access it. Example, you read access EC2 initial config and admin access to launching config. Yeah, so next is how to enable MFA to Amazon S3. That's a good question. In order to enable MFA Amazon EC2, we have to move for identity access management. So I'll be showing some examples of that also later. Then come to in my office, we have three people to manage AWS console. A manager want to restrict access to other two guys like read only. You have to go for identity access management and give the permission for the particular user. So that is something the same as Active Directory. And how do I create AMI builder using AWS code and patcher? This is AMI builder. This is something given one example. Okay. And who are all having access to change security settings in AWS dashboard? Only root user access. And security settings means asking security groups AWS, so obviously root user. And it is possible to configure NFS between two instances for sharing data. Actually, there is a possibility to ping different private IP between instances. If it is just pinging means you can able to do that. Then you ask it is possible to configure NFS between two instances for sharing data. So this you are talking about Linux. And how do I modify the capacity performance of existing EBS volume? You can modify here. You can go to EC2 and click on that particular instance, particular volume, and click here, modify, and here you can able to modify which storages you need and what size of how much of storage you need. You can able to click on that and you can able to modify. Then in which scenario we can use elastic IP that I already told that you want a shareable static public IP and that is permanent public IP for that instance. You can able to use elastic IP. ADS services already enabled. How do I access AMI? That is code repo using AWS CCAS. These are some questions that is really practically implemented. So for this, we need to connect the AWS session for that and ask the questions, rapid questions right now. it is possible to create replication between two EBS volumes in different zone. That's something by instance is not possible. What happens to my data when Amazon EC2 instance terminates? See, that's why as I told, when you're launching the instance, don't select that option, delete on termination. If you unselect that option, even if you lost if you stop if you terminate the instance, your data will remain same. And you can see, suppose for example, suppose I am going to EC2 and launching one instance here. I'm talking about this one. If you answer this option, instance terminates, your data will remain forever. If you select this option, if you upon the termination of instance, your data will go along with the instance. And now question is, what about high availability of storage like mirrored disk for booting? High availability is already there inside my AWS storages. So because it's have regions and availability zones or storages. So high availability is already implemented there. So no need to go for mirror disk for booting and all. I hope, I think the questions, what are things I have answered, and I hope you understand that. And moreover, you'll be getting the recorded version of this Zeedup Marathon video inside the YouTube, or maybe inside inside via mail, and you can able to access it. So you can ask me more. You can ask me more questions. So if you have any other questions, you can ask me, and I can go ahead for that. I hope today you have understand what are things for what we discussed here, and I hope you understand. And okay, one more question. What are the files generated while instance creating instance? See, actually, you're asking about the bootstrapping process. See, first of all, you need to understand how operating system boots in your physical data center, and how the operating system boots in cloud. So that's a difference. So what are the files you need to understand? You need to understand about some automation tools that you go for Chef and Puppet. Okay, so those files are there. It's about while creating instances and running those things. So that I can clarify more than we're connecting tomorrow. And one question: what if my instance appears to be stuck shutting down? See, actually, as I told that if you have loss of internet connectivity there inside, so if you lost internet connectivity, you're going to be stuck, right? You're going to be stuck inside the particular instance, and it will create a lot of problems. If your internet connection is healthy and you're connected with AWS with proper credentials, there is no need of worry about the crashing problem or stuck problem or shutting down problem, all those things. If it is there, suppose you have stopped the instances stuck in between, maybe because of network issue, then don't worry, your data is still running, and once you reconnected your instance, your data is regenerated, and you will be taken where you left off in earlier states. And what is the size of the snapshot? See, snapshot is the one that has zero size. So once you take the snapshots by yourself, okay, suppose I'm going from here, when I go to volumes, and when I click this one, create a snapshot. So this will be create, yes, so snapshots is created. And when I click here, let me just refresh it. So it will be placing here snapshot. So yeah, is placed. So the size is of the storage is 500 GB, and you can see that when you're transferring, when you copy this one between one region to next. Okay, as I told, suppose I'm just forwarding this one from one region to next region. What will happen? The snapshots, the size will be what you say increasing more, because the size of the snapshots is the one same as the size of what you have. But when you are copying the snapshot from one region to next, it has chances of increasing that one. Okay, next is if I install Active Directory on Windows Server, if I terminate the instance after spinning up another instance connecting old EBS, when my IDE will up and running fine. See, actually stopping the instance and reconnect the old EBS new instance. Yeah, because if you have the storages with you, and even if you stop the instances, no problem. If you have the storages, you can able to run up and it will be running fine. That's not a how many snapshot can I create for one EC2 instances. Honestly, one EC2 instances you can create only one snapshot, but moreover, because we have snapshot ID, right? So that will be keep tracked by AWS. So based on that ID only, you can create more snapshots. Okay, so I hope you understand today what are the things we discussed, and we'll be connecting back tomorrow with same time. And tomorrow is the day number 4, and that's the last day for us to have for Zeedup AWS Marathon, and that's the last session for us. And tomorrow I'll be discussing more important things: Amazon VPC, Amazon S3, and about auto scaling. Thank you so much, and we see you back tomorrow same time. And Mr. Dinesh, my colleague Dinesh, wants to have some words with you.
Hey guys, how was the session? You can just ping me in the chat, please. Okay. Okay. Thanks everyone. Thanks Rajiv. Thanks Rashmi. Thanks Paul. Thanks Santhan. I'll be sending you the videos sessions. Thank you. One more thing guys, our trainer Paul's birthday is today. So I'd like to convey it to all after the end of the session.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for appreciating me. And guys, really nice time for me to have this appreciation from you. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much guys. I'll be sharing you the video sessions in our WhatsApp group as well as to all your respective email IDs. Okay. Yeah. For whatever queries you have or questions, please write your queries to this email ID. Okay. All right. Our contact is contact@zeedup.com. So for corporate trainings and sessions and everything, you can contact me directly. Alright guys. Have a great day guys. Advance Independence Day wishes to all of you. Thank you guys. Mohit, Dinesh, where can I find it? If I didn't get a question. Okay, so I just type Zeedup Technologies in YouTube, Mohit. You'll be finding that. As well as I have emailed you all the recorded links. Just subscribe our YouTube link too. Wait a second, I'll just ping you guys YouTube link. 1 second. So this is our channel guys. Please subscribe it for more videos in the future. Okay. Thanks guys. Thank you so much.